Okay, so being a fan of police movies and Hill Street Blues growing up, do they still have like in between shift changes? Do you guys still like sit all the officers down and you stand up at the podium, and say, "Okay, here's what we're dealing with today"? Do they still do that? Or
well,
not?
I tell you what, I think you guys need to come witness firsthand what happens at we call it a squad meeting.
The squad meeting, yes. So you still do that.
Joining us today at the table is Ken Scarlette, the recently retired chief of police here in Springfield. Ken, thanks for carving out some time to sit down with us.
Yeah. Well, it just so happens I have a lot of time to carve out. So
Yeah.
I'm glad I was able to fit in your guys' schedule.
Hey, so what's it been, 9 or 10 days, I think,
something
right?
like that. Yeah, I've lost track. I don't know what day of the week it is.
Yeah,
Where you
I
look
love
very relaxed and happy.
Yeah, yes,
Big smile
yes.
on your face when you walk in.
And I just want to start, one, thanks for
thank you.
joining us, really.
Yes.
And then secondly, thank you for 27 years of service to our community with the Springfield Police Department. I think all of us understand and know that it is not an easy gig. And how many years as chief now prior to your retirement?
Yeah, it was a little over 3 years.
Gotcha.
February of 2022 is when I took over as chief. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. What one of the things we've learned by doing this crazy podcast is people love to hear people's stories. So what, and maybe there were more than one influence. What were the influences in your life that made you say, "Hey, I want to go into law enforcement and I want to serve our community"?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a good question. And really, quite frankly, I don't know, maybe a boring story. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but really only one influence, and that was my father. My father was a state trooper and spent 30 years with the Illinois State Police. And so the only thing I ever really remember from my childhood growing up was seeing him come home in a uniform and listening to him go 1042, the end of his tour of duty on the radio. You know, I thought that was the coolest thing. And kind of what that led to was my neighbor friend and I playing cops and robbers.
Is that right?
Watching all the cool cop shows. And it just influenced me from the very beginning that all I ever wanted to do was get into law enforcement. And to the point I say it all the time, or had previously, that law enforcement with Springfield Police Department is the only full-time job I've ever had in my entire life. So
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Same place your whole career.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Which you don't see these days.
No.
Rarely do we see that these days, and regardless of the industry.
Yeah. No, and especially as I got a little later on in my career, as we were interviewing, new recruits who wanted to come on board. Younger kids in this generation, they don't necessarily view things as a career path. It's more about, what do I want to try right now, and if I like it, great. If I don't, I'll try something else. And that was just never my mindset. And I think the mindset of our generation was, this is what I want to do. I want to do it really well, and I want to exceed. And I had the privilege and the honor to do that. And again, I owe that all to my father's influence, and it's been great.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I know the first time I met you, we were in a Bible study at the at O'Shea's at their learning center, I guess is what you'd call it. And I thought, man, you being the police chief, having. When you're talking and sharing faith with people, I thought, man, how lucky is Springfield to have an individual like you. And to talk a little bit about, like, how did you take your faith into your job, serving the community?
Well, I would just say that I was born and raised a Christian, and I've been at Westside Christian Church my entire life. And so my faith is really what's guided me throughout my entire life, regardless of what the obstacle was ahead. That's something that my parents taught me. That's something that my wife and I aspire to teach our children, and have done a good job of doing so. So faith in God has always been number one.
Yep.
And I think, I look back and sometimes I wonder when I kind of served throughout my tenure as chief, if God was up there laughing, saying, "I'm going to put you in this unique position and see how you handle it, and see what the cards are." But I never aspired to be chief of police. All I ever wanted to do was serve my community, and I think it was God's timing that just kind of brought me along and put me in the right spot, and I have Him to thank for things. But I do think it is important to speak publicly about me, specifically about my faith and how God has influenced me. And if ever any of us are in a position where we can share our faith and bring others to Christ, I think that's something that the Bible says we should do. And so what better way to do that than as the chief of police?
Right.
That's
right.
awesome.
Yeah, I love it. That is really cool. Speaking of O'Shea, again, that's where I feel like we really had a chance to connect with you and get to know you a little bit. We've probably been involved in maybe the last 3 or 4 of those studies they've done. Is that something you've been a part of for quite some time? Over the years?
No, honestly, I feel like I came aboard. I do maybe 3 of the last studies. And,
Okay, so maybe about the same timing as we did. Yeah.
Yeah, really had the opportunity to develop a relationship with Matt O'Shea. And we kind of had similar circles of folks that we were dealing with throughout our careers, and so our paths crossed and developed a friendship, and have certainly enjoyed my time spending time with Matt. And I'm guessing that it was probably as a result of our friendship that kind of drew me to the Bible study. And I'll be honest with you. Several years ago, I had been involved in some Bible studies, and I kind of let that slip. So it was kind of cool to be drawn back into that. And enjoyed those opportunities to meet you guys and hang out with you guys and hear cool stories and all the fun stuff. Yeah.
Matt O'Shea is a great guy.
He's a character, man. We love Matt O'Shea.
He lives not too far from where I do, right on Chatham Road, and he's training for a marathon that he's going to run in October, I think the Chicago Marathon, but he's running at 4 o'clock in the morning. Well, he knows I'm an early riser, and he sees the light on in my house, so usually every other day at 4:20, I'm getting a text from him, and he's out running by the house. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. I think he ran a half a marathon on Saturday, and 6:45 pace. So great guy though.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I think he's also training for a marathon when he took his kids to Disney, because he and I would have a conversation about that. Not so sure he was a big fan of that.
We all heard about that trip.
I don't think he was a fan of it either.
I'm a Disney guy, so I'm like, send me some pictures. And I think he got pretty worn out with his kiddos. So.
Yeah, I think he did too.
It can be exhausting.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's so neat. So you grew up here in Springfield, correct?
Yeah.
Graduate of was it SHG when you graduated? Okay, I couldn't remember the years of Griffin or SHG. So play sports there?
I did.
As well?
I did. So I guess maybe a little bit about me. I was born and raised on the north end of Springfield, North Gate. So I spent a lot of time up there, and met a bunch of buddies up there that we would follow each other on to Sacred Heart Griffin, where I had the opportunity to play baseball there. That was my primary sport, and eventually would go on and play a year at Lincoln Land.
Oh, okay.
Before I decided it was time to get serious about what was next in my life.
Yeah.
So,
what position did you play?
First base.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Under Coach Wojcicki had a lot of fun up there. It was a great opportunity, and I still have a lot of those lifelong friends that we played ball, honestly, through SHG and through Lincoln Land together. So cool.
It's unique how sports tend to bring, at least I believe, having played some sports, many, many, many years ago, but I still stay up with a bunch of those guys. So you forge some friendships that are unique when you're in the competitive space together. I think, irregardless of what the sport might be. I just think that's one of the unique things about sport.
Well, I think that, and I think it also helps produce leaders. And and I would say that, maybe I'm an example of that, but also, more importantly, a good friend of mine, Steve Petrelli, who I grew up with, played ball with. He's the police chief in Normal, Illinois.
Is that right?
Oh, that's cool.
Another buddy of mine, Mike Bartletti, same thing, played ball with. He's a battalion chief with the fire department here. So I think, sports has that tendency to create leadership opportunities in life, for sure.
Yeah, I would agree very much.
How hard is it recruiting-wise today in law enforcement to get young folks with some of the things going on around the country and, to put their application in? Is it tough or no? Or
100%. And it's not just Springfield. It's nationwide.
Everywhere,
I can tell you when I joined the department, and way back in 1998.
I love it.
There was 1,000 of us that lined up to take the test.
Really? Seriously, 1,000
people.
people.
It was at the convention center. I mean, it was packed. 1,000 people. And I think we ended up hiring, over the course of several hires off of that list, maybe 50 people is all it takes. So you think about your odds,
Sure.
And I was fortunate enough to be one of those that got hired. But I will tell you now, or previous to me leaving, we were testing twice a year and would exhaust an entire list. And the list would consist of, once it was all done, maybe 20, 25 people.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy.
That is crazy.
I think law enforcement, again, nationwide, not just in Springfield, has adapted how it recruits and goes after individuals. And you see monetary incentives, you see incentives of take-home squad cars, and salaries have been increased to try and make things attractive, hiring bonuses, all those sort of things, just to convince people, to come join our team. Because essentially, if you're a candidate who wants to be a police officer and have a clean background, you can write your ticket on where you want to go.
Sure.
So, it's now the department's opportunity to try and attract those individuals.
Sure.
So it's extremely difficult to hire young kids. And again, I think just like I said, some kids don't necessarily have their heart set on law enforcement. They think I'll give this a shot. It's just a job. We'll see what happens. Sure. And those folks learn very quickly, hey, maybe Springfield's not the place I want to work, because you got to be all in here just from what you see. But I would say that we did a good job under my tenure as far as recruiting and hiring, and it's something that just never stops. You have to keep going. Yeah.
Are most of our officers here locally, are they from Springfield or 50-50?
I would say probably a little more than 50-50.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So I know the community, and very good.
And that's important, right?
I was just going to say, that's probably advantageous, right?
It
Folks
is.
who grew up
It
here
is.
know the place.
Yeah. No, it's twofold. I'll be honest with you. I think it's extremely important to, especially if nothing else, the logistics of traveling throughout our city.
Sure.
Yeah.
We
Right.
have 80 square miles of city streets. So knowing street names, knowing how to get to point A to point B in the most efficient manner is important. But also, one thing we do see is folks that are from Springfield. They're treated differently in a negative way by others within our community when they have to go police them.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So sometimes you see those that are born and raised in Springfield maybe join our team and then say, I need to go somewhere where I'm a nobody to kind of make my own path.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is
I would almost think it would be the opposite, the flip side
me too.
of that.
Yeah.
You mentioned that about 80 square miles in Springfield. I was talking with somebody the other day, a young guy, and he said, man, I've been in Springfield for all these years. He's not from here, but he's like, without my GPS, I don't know where I'm going. And because I said, well, you go up here and you turn here and you turn here, and he's like, I have no idea
I'm
what
still
you
that
just
way
said.
too. Moving from Decatur.
It's just interesting. We've become so dependent on our technology for everything, right?
I tell you, I had to go to downtown Chicago a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And of course, you just put it right in your phone. It takes you right to exactly where you want to go. And I'm thinking, how would I have done this?
I know it.
20 years ago.
I know.
Like I used to do, as old as I am, we had the big paper
Yeah.
map folded out.
Rand McNally. I still have mine.
I love it.
Yeah. What's a typical day look like for you then, being retired? I know it's
Probably
early,
still
but
figuring it out.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I'll begin by saying my wife and kids would joke because I create a list every night of what I need to accomplish
love it.
tomorrow.
That's
I
great.
love it.
Check my
That's
things off the
great.
list. So, and then my youngest daughter, who's home from college, she was getting on me the other day. She's like, "You haven't checked one thing off your list today. So what are you doing with yourself?"
I love it. I mean, does the day go by pretty fast?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And, I spend a little more time in the gym, opportunity to a little self-care stuff, taking care of myself.
Well, you look great,
Yeah,
by
you
the
do
way.
look
It's
great.
obvious you
Appreciate
spend
that.
some time
Yeah.
taking care of you.
Yeah.
You don't just end up in good shape by not working on it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like my smile's a little wider from ear to ear. But I honestly, I think it's about just decompressing right now.
Yeah.
Just saying when you go from all in to stepping back is just an opportunity to take a breath and catch your breath, let the stress kind of roll
Good
off
for you.
And it's just in 10 days, it's been a major relief. And,
That's awesome.
My wife and kids comment, they can just see it in my.
Is that right?
Oh yeah. And I feel it too. I mean, I really do.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, because it's obvious not that we spent a ton of time together, but the various conversations over the last few years with you, it's been really clear how much you loved doing what you've done for the last 27 years. And yet I suspect you had maybe not even fully conscious of the level of stress and pressure of the job until you step away.
Yeah, and I would say you don't step into this role as police chief without, being fully 110% committed and loving your job and knowing that the love that you have for this job is going to be met with challenges and hardships and all those things, right? That just comes with it. And, my wife and I had conversations sort of leading up to taking the chief job, and we kind of talked about what this was going to be like, and that she was going to have to be all in with me, and she certainly was and has been, and and I still love the job. even though I've now stepped aside, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
I'm the biggest fan of the men and women of the Springfield Police Department, and want to see them be successful. No, they will under their new leadership for sure.
So if there probably will be a police officer in somewhere watching this podcast, and is there an intentional path for somebody that is, an entry-level police officer, if they had in their mind they want to be a police chief someday? Is there a path for that, or is it something that you accidentally, after 15 years, realized, man, I might want to be a police chief someday?
Yeah, or you earn the right because those leadership skills start to you start to stick your head above the crowd over those. That's a great question.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think I'm going to use a quote that my mom always told me, and that's if you're not learning, you're not living. And so, and that's one thing I tell all of our new recruits. I think you have to set the path for yourself, number one. Number two, develop someone who can be your mentor to help you through each step of the way. I think that's extremely important. And continue that education, whether that be formal education or education pertaining to the community in which you reside and where you work. I think those are all extremely important. Dedicating yourself to the craft is ever so important. And, if there's one thing I would like to see the department sort of adapt in the future, it's maybe that formal mentorship program to say, if you want to be a leader, then this is what we expect of you, and this is what we're going to offer you to make that accomplished. Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah,
because like in our business, right, we have people that are really great technicians, and sometimes they'll move into maybe a manager's role, and then but oftentimes it's hard for those folks to make the jump to the next level and be successful at it. Because being a great restoration technician or a manager of 10 people doesn't necessarily always make you a manager of 40 people, or being able to handle all the different things that come along the way. So I was curious.
And you bring up a good word there, and I think it's extremely important to mention that it's all about people, right? Especially in this job. It's about service to our community, 113,000 citizens. It's about taking care of your own people, making sure that from a wellness perspective that they're taken care of. So you have to have that love of people. You have to have that servant leadership if you truly aspire to make it to each level along the way. Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah, that's a great, hopefully, word of encouragement to anybody who manages or leads people is to always remember it is about those people, because I think we all know folks who've aspired to be in charge or be the leader or whatever label you want to put on that, but they were so focused on that that they lost sight of the people.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what you do to encourage and support and challenge and help people grow and bring them along and all those things.
And
so
that's where humility plays a big role, right? I mean, and something I would always say about myself, it was never about me. It's about the men and women of this organization, about our community. Whatever I can do to serve in the capacity that I am, that's what I have to be committed to. And again, that goes basically throughout any career that you choose. It's having that humble mindset to take care of others.
Yeah. Well, you sure model it well for Springfield. What I'm curious, as we're talking about recruiting, is there a top end age wise that someone can serve until age 50 or 55 as a police officer? I have no idea. I'm just curious.
No, so there's a state statute dictates how old the maximum age to get into law enforcement,
which is
35.
Okay.
35 is the cutoff.
Gotcha.
Unless you come in as a lateral, and there's some adjustments there. If you have prior military service, they take care of the military folks. But we used to have a top age max out, but there's no longer that for Springfield.
Gotcha.
Now, certain agencies and city code will do things differently, but for Springfield, there's not. Now, let's be honest, and I'm soon to be 49, and I will tell you that law enforcement is a young man's game. So
I can only imagine.
For sure.
And I think that's part of taking care of yourself, making sure you're in good shape. I think, I was on speaking with an individual the other day, and that's one thing that we talked about is an entire call for service can be dictated based on how the person you're meeting with views the officer, right? So if they look at that person and say, well, that person appears to be squared away, uniform looks great, they're in great shape. I mean, that may, just adds to that de-escalation component. I think
Sure.
that's important for officers to realize that people, you're always being sized up and judged as soon as you get out of your car.
Absolutely.
Interesting. Yeah. I never thought about it that way, but absolutely true.
Yeah.
Probably more so in law enforcement than any other profession, but it's very true in most professions, I think.
First
but
impression.
especially
First
law
impressions,
enforcement, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah. What would you say to somebody who, a young man or young woman who's, well, it doesn't really matter the age, under 35, and they're on the fence. They're thinking, law enforcement might be for me. What would your encouragement be to somebody who finds themselves in that spot?
Well, I think if you're on the fence about maybe coming to the Springfield Police Department, I'm going to tell you, you need to do a ride along with one of our officers. You need to see what a typical day is like.
Yes.
And really understand if that's something that you want to manage and take on. Now, again, we kind of talked about this earlier. I don't necessarily think law enforcement is a career just to say, I'm on the fence, I'm going to try
I'm going to give it a shot, right?
Right.
Probably not.
And we see young kids that do that and recognize, hey, I may like law enforcement, but Springfield is a little too busy for me. I'm going to go somewhere else and do something at a slower pace, and I'm completely fine with that.
Sure.
But you really have to be all in and committed to your craft for sure.
Yeah.
Is Springfield a busy law enforcement community? Like lots of calls?
Yeah.
Compared to other areas?
Sure. And obviously, we're kind of the big fish in the pond here in central Illinois, right? Springfield is the 7th largest law enforcement agency in the state. At last, there was 268, I believe, sworn officers on the books.
Okay.
Forgot where I was going with that, but anyway, that's the old age.
Well, yeah, I was just curious if it's a bit, me being from Decatur, is it
busy law enforcement?
Is it busy as far as calls and stuff?
Our
going
officers
on?
handle about 120,000 calls for service a year.
Wow. Okay.
And obviously Decatur's a busy community as well. Now their agency is much smaller than ours.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, but we share similar types of calls for service. Our men and women and different seasons of the year dictate how busy we are, times of day, days of the week, all that stuff dictates. But I'm sure any Springfield police officer would tell you that they're going to hit the ground running. We're running 10-hour shifts now, and they're going to be busy for the entire 10 hours.
Yeah. Are you seeing more females or less females applying for the law enforcement?
In the last couple of years, we've actually seen a decline in females. I think, initially maybe 5-6 years ago, there was an increase. And then over the last couple of years, that number has seemed to decline just a little bit.
Gotcha. Yep.
Now, we do have some very solid females that I do see as leaders of our agency in the very near future.
Okay,
and,
cool.
and I'm proud to share the uniform and the badge with them. Because,
sure.
They're going to be stellar.
There's one that works out at our gym every morning.
Is that right?
Yeah, and she's in great shape. She gets after it. Yeah.
Good.
So I've just noticed I've seen a few females in police cars around town. Okay, so being a fan of police movies and Hill Street Blues growing up, do they still have in between shift changes? Do you guys still sit all the officers down and you stand up at the podium, and say, okay, here's what we're dealing with today? Do they still do that?
Well, I tell you what, I think you guys need to come witness firsthand what happens at we call it a squad meeting.
The squad meeting,
yes.
So you still do that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so all the police officers are sitting out there and okay, cool.
Yeah, and it depends on, so we run 4 shifts. It's 4 10-hour shifts, kind of sporadic throughout the day. So some shifts have less officers than others.
Sure.
But a typical day shift would have somewhere between probably 18 and 20 officers in the crowd, if you will, and then a lieutenant and 3 or 4 sergeants kind of leading the meeting, and they go through just like Hill Street Blues, right? To go through the daily.
Well, do you remember Hill Street Blues?
I do.
That was the best.
It's just great.
I used to watch that and Cheers. Okay, Cheers. I'm still upset that George Wendt died a couple weeks ago on Cheers.
Now, my favorite police movie was Chips, and that was something.
Oh, yeah. I watched that too.
That was one of my favorites. For sure.
So you mentioned it. So 4 10-hour shifts, you said. How there's obviously some overlap at certain times during the day, and probably the busiest times, I would assume. Which is what time? I'm curious. I think I probably have an idea.
Yeah, I mean, any time between a 4 p.m. and 12, 1 in the morning is going to be the busiest, and that closer to 8, 9 in the evening may spike just a little bit, but obviously 3, 4 in the morning, things will slow down and get busy for accidents in the morning maybe, but main calls for service, I'd say that 4 p.m. to 1 a.m. window is very busy.
Gotcha. So you have more officers on at that time than any other time during the day.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Most officers, so they're doing 4 do 4 10-hour shifts a week typically?
It's
Or
a
is there
very
no
weird
typical?
schedule. It's
Okay,
not
well.
typical. And I
about
wish
it, huh?
I could sit here and explain it to you, but essentially they work 40 hours a week. But
Gotcha.
But it kind of fluctuates. Their days off, they get there's some 4 days off rotations, and then they would cycle through 3-day off rotations,
Gotcha.
and their days off are never the same. They
I
rota-
gotcha.
they rotate through.
Okay.
So you have to keep a calendar when highlight when you're supposed to be off.
Yeah,
of work.
Gotcha. 260 some odd officers, you said?
That's authorized strength, and I think we're probably sitting right around 250, 255, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and always hiring, and people always retiring, like myself, right? It's just the constant cycle is some out the door and some in the door. And the thing, and that's kind of the part where I don't feel like we ever get caught up, because from the moment we hire you, day one, it's about 10 and a half month process until you're essentially on your own, if you will.
Sure.
So,
Gotcha.
yeah, and that's mainly due to the amount of training that we offer, that I think is extremely valuable and important. Is one thing that I'm very proud of with the Springfield Police Department. That is the amount of professional and real and relevant training that we offer to ensure that our men and women are prepared and ready to go out in the field every day.
Yeah. Do they experience other training here locally in Springfield, or go away anywhere as a part of the training process?
I guess maybe to walk you through a typical training process for a new recruit, they would spend 2 weeks at the Springfield Police Academy, getting some very basic stuff. First day on the job, right? HR, all that stuff, very basic stuff. Then they would go to Macon County Law Enforcement Training Academy in Decatur.
Oh yeah.
They spend 16 weeks now, and that's the state certified training academy.
Okay.
16 weeks, and they come back. And we would give them another 5 weeks of, okay, you learned sort of how things are in the state. We're going to dovetail things to how we do things in Springfield, get you some more training on firearms, active shooter, all that sort of stuff.
Gotcha.
So that's 5 weeks at our academy. And then they get their first experience in a squad car with an officer field training program. And that's a minimum of another 22 weeks where they'll cycle through every shift, multiple officers, to try and get a on the job sort of training perspective. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty comprehensive.
It's
very.
Yeah.
And it has to be, right?
Yeah, right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, we sure are grateful for
Yeah.
the men and women who wear the uniform in Springfield, and really
For sure, yes.
throughout our state and country, but appreciate your leadership, that's for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank
Over the
you.
years, and 27 years, I imagine there are times where it flew by, and there are times when it felt like it was double that, right?
At the end of the day, I still shake my head and think, how did that 27 years go by? I mean, it's just crazy. But to your point, there are specific days when you wonder if this day will ever end, and then you go home and think about it all night.
Right.
And that's one thing that the mental health component that is extremely important for leaders, really, and again, in any profession, to take care of your people. That's one thing you got to do, is the mental health side of things, and it's extremely difficult in law enforcement.
Oh, I can only imagine.
And so that's one thing that we worked on, under my tenure, was a holistic wellness program, right? We take care of people's physical fitness, emotional, the mental health, psychological component. There's also the financial component. We brought in Dave Ramsey program.
Oh, cool.
$100.
Oh, that's nice.
We have a chaplain program we brought in. We have peer support. So that's one thing that I wanted to focus on. Again, I mentioned earlier, taking care of your people. You got to give them the resources and the tools to make sure they're successful.
I like it.
Yeah, cool. Well, I know that you're a really humble guy, but I'm still going to ask this question.
Yeah.
What are you most proud of in your 27 years of serving our community?
That's a good question.
That is a good question. Sandbagging me there.
And then he's got one more important one he's going to ask it that we ask everybody.
Not that important, but no.
I don't know. Maybe that I was able to give back to the community that I was born and raised in at various levels, right? From being an officer, I was a neighborhood police officer. I was on our SWAT team. I was on our honor guard. I was a sergeant in the bureau, and on and on and on and on. I think that every step of the way, being able to give back to this community that I call home, I think is something that I'm very proud of.
That's
and
terrific.
should be. That's awesome.
Yeah. That's awesome.
The spirit of giving back. Man, that's good stuff. So yeah, we do ask everybody. Brad calls it the question.
The young.
So 27 years in law enforcement, and not just law enforcement, but life, a family, raising kids. If you could talk to yourself 27 years ago, what advice would you give your younger self based on your life experience over those last 27 years?
Well, that's an easy one for me. And I think maybe as I sit here as a 49-year-old who's, I guess, maybe on the second half of life now, I don't know. There are days and weeks and months where you wish time away, right?
Right.
And I think if I could go back, I would say enjoy the moment, enjoy every moment. You know, none of us are guaranteed tomorrow or another breath, quite frankly. So
Amen.
you never know when your time is going to be called. And quite frankly, I figured that out when I went through a surprise battle with prostate cancer, right? I think we're kind of, we all have this mindset of we're infallible or we're unbreakable, if you will, and then God has other plans sometimes. So enjoy every single moment of every single day and just keep that in perspective of how blessed you truly are. Yeah.
That's great. Great advice.
Good advice.
Yes,
Good
for sure.
advice. Well, we will end it there because that's really valuable.
Yeah. Thank you for your time and enjoy retirement.
Listen, it's
for sure.
An honor and a privilege to sit here with you guys. I consider you both friends, and that friendship will continue, even though I don't have to wear a gun and a badge and uniform anymore.
I like it. Well, good deal.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
being here.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.